Hey, this is Gene. Hey, I just made a video a second ago, but when I rewatch it, it's just me screaming at the camera. The camera was much closer, and I'm just screaming at it. You can't hear what it's saying. I'm a loud person, so that's. I actually have the camera a little farther back now, so hopefully it's just like when I listen back to it, it's just like the microphone almost couldn't handle it. It's like making that sound, all that background noise. So I figured I'd re-record the video, and actually I'm going to do a completely different video. I mean, I don't feel like redoing that whole thing again, so yeah, so you might never see that. But anyway, I was talking about weird, awkward social interactions that happen every day for the last video. But now I'm going to talk about a story that happened years ago. I think I was in early college, but anyway, oh man, I should have gotten it out, but I didn't. I carry a lighter most of the time. I'm not a smoker. It's not really my thing. Whatever, right? I'm a member at REI, Recreation Equipment Incorporated. You either know it or you don't. It's a freaking awesome store. It's great. Anyway, I picked up like a mini blowtorch. It's like it's tiny. It fits in your pocket. It's the coolest thing ever. And it takes those crappy Scripto lighters you buy in like bulk at Walmart, and it turns them into fuel cartridges. And it uses those crappy lighters to fuel a mini blowtorch. It's super awesome. It's the best 20 bucks I've spent in a long time. I've had it for maybe a year and a half now. Anyway, regardless, I don't even remember what I was going to talk about. Oh, yes. So I carry a lighter most of the time. A lot of times it's that thing I carry in my jacket pocket, or sometimes I have a big lighter or something. Anyway, there's a story between that, because I don't smoke. Why do you need to carry a lighter? I think it's a good thing to have. I don't know. If someone asks for a light, it's nice. Anyway, but there is a story to that. And this story starts in early college. A bunch of high school friends of mine used to play Frisbee, like ultimate Frisbee. Like that was the thing, We'd meet back up at the field of the high school that we went to, and we'd be like, every so often we'd mess around and play Frisbee. I'm not a great Frisbee player. I mean, I know how to throw Frisbee. That's essentially the only qualifying thing you had to have. And I had that. So we would go, and it was a good time, We don't do it anymore because, you just drift apart from most of those people. Anyway, it's kind of sad when you think about it. But anyway, I was going to a game, an ultimate Frisbee game at our old high school. And coming down my road, right? The road off my road. It's not my road, but it's like main road, whatever, right? So it goes past his farm, winds past his farm, and there's relatively sharp turn and then you come up this hill and you come up to a traffic light. I was in a hurry to get to Frisbee, and anyway, I'm turning that relatively sharp turn. I'm not going that fast. I was in a hurry, but I'm not speeding. And as I'm making the turn, there's like a silver truck. It looked like an F-150 that literally rolls past on the side of the road. Like it was rolling past, and it rolled through the fence into the farm, like into the field. Like this car, like I'm like, I'm making this turn, and this truck's like, I'm flipping over into this field. And I'm like, and I pull into a driveway real quick and I run across into this field, right? And yeah, the truck had rolled into the field through the fence and was sitting on its side, right? On its side. And I run up to it. I'm like, oh man, that was the guy rolled it numerous times. And I ran up. And I ran up to the car, and the truck's on its side, right? So this is the windshield. I can't, and it's weird with the whatever, right? So the truck's on its side, right? There's the front of the truck, and the windshield is long ways, right? Because it's on its side, and there's a guy standing. It's a short guy, balding. No, not balding. He's just bald. He has a shaved head, whatever. He's standing, in front of in the wrong angle, right? Because here's the windshield up and down. And he's standing behind it, here's the glass in front of him, and he's banging on the door that's now above him, right? Because the truck's on its side. And I'm like, what? I get on top of the truck, and I pry the door open, and this guy, climbs out. And I mean, he rolled this truck, 4 times, right? And the only thing he had on him, he was not wearing a seatbelt. Very obviously not, because he was immediately, he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. I mean, whatever. He had a tiny little scratch on his head, right? It was a shaved head, so I could see it. He had a little cut. And I was like, he climbs out, and he's just he climbs down from the truck. He's like, man. And I'm like, man, you all right? Are you okay? And he's like, yeah, man, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. And it sounds like he's high. That's how I'm describing. I mean, he wasn't high. I think it was just a little bit of shock. But I mean, he was fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with him. Like, he had that tiny little scratch, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm like, standing there. Like, I definitely saw this guy roll his truck like 4 or 5 times. And I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. And he's like, yeah, man. And he pulls this, like, pack of cigarettes out of his shirt pocket. It's all like, it's a little rough, a little jumbled from the, I don't know. And he pulls a cigarette out. He's like, hey, man, you got a light? And I'm like, no, man, I don't smoke. I don't have a light. And he's like, all right. And I'm like, well, I want to get out of here before the cops show up because I got somewhere to be. He's like, yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, that's cool. And I'm like, okay. And so I get back, I run across, my car's in the driveway. I pull it out and I go to Frisbee. But it was hysterical, like just such a random, like, bam, in those few 5 minutes that, like, oh, this happened. It was just hysterical. The guy was perfectly fine, but the fact that he was just like, oh, I flipped through this whole thing, and then he, like, wanted, he just wanted to smoke that cigarette. I mean, I'm not a smoker. That's, I guess, that, you get the stress gone, but it was just, I found it hysterical. And I was actually kind of upset that I didn't have a lighter on me to help this guy out, because, like, that kind of sucked, He just flipped his truck a million times, and he just wanted to smoke a cigarette, but his lighter's probably somewhere in that truck, who the hell knows where, because it's flipping around. Yeah, so I started trying to carry a lighter after that. That was a turning point for me, and now I still carry it, and that was probably 5 years ago. Anyway, I just think it's funny as hell. So that's a story I have. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to post this story I initially was going to do, but whatever. I might post it, I might not. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. You guys take it easy, and